I'm thinking as to how to do my aquaponics setup. I'm going to put a 6 meter by 3 meter greenhouse, so that's around 18 foot by 9 foot, and these bathtubs, I'm going to have one for the fish. It's going to be lower than the beds. The water will gravitationally go into filtration, which will then go into a sump tank, obviously much bigger than this, and from there it will be pumped up into a trellis frame and going into towers. So each bathtub will have 2 towers. The water will go through into the bathtub, work along, and with a siphon, a bell siphon, will then pump out and back into the fish tank. That's the idea. So I need to get a frame for each of the bathtubs. Should be around maybe a meter high, because the fish tub I'm gonna suspend maybe, I don't know, 6 or 8 inches off the ground. So if need be, I can use the plug at the bottom to drain it. So the question really now is, do I mirror image on that side? So we've got the fish and then the system, and then through a splitter it will go to the towers. Or should I rotate the fish also lengthways and have the filtration of sump tank also lengthways? I think lengthways makes sense, so it doesn't protrude from the sides. The bathtub is 1.70 meters long and 70 centimeters wide, so 2 bathtubs combined is 1.40 meters. So if it was horizontally located, the fish tank, it would protrude on both sides just 15-20 centimeters. So I think keep it flowing like that, obviously. So we've got 1.40 meters, so I'd have 80 centimeters on each side as a walkway, and to take care of all the plants. I'm going to use, I think, as my substrate, as my bedding, I think I'm going to use clay. Now the clay balls are very expensive here in Thailand. I've got some pebbles, but they're very heavy river rocks. So I'm thinking roofing clay, roofing tiles, and just break them up. Use those for the bedding. Apparently it should be around 14 inches deep, so the bathtub is more than deep enough. In the towers, I haven't decided yet exactly what to do, but I'd like a system where I can unhook the tower and just use maybe an angular base for it to pour into the bath for the water. I'm a complete novice. I've never done any gardening. I've never taken care of fish, and I'm going to try and do an aquaponic system. And if I can do it, then anyone can do it. And this is something that I'd like to do on a bigger scale. So possibly have a ground pond, build a pond, and then a bed around the pond, and everything would then be raised so there's no bending over. I have a bad back, so it's good if everything's kind of waist high. I think the trellis is going to have to be around 2.5 meters high. So I'm just thinking it all out. Obviously I've got to measure for the hosing, I've got to make the bell siphons, so I'll do a video on that. Maybe this weekend I can get started on that. Got to find out what pump to use, and I know that the bathtub has around 80 gallons. It can contain around 80 gallons. I think maybe a bit less, maybe 70, because I'm going to use gravity, so it's going to filter there. It's probably around 75 gallons. Is that going to be enough for 4 beds and 8 towers? We'll see. And what type of fish, I've no idea yet. Might just start with goldfish or something. And for anyone that can count, I actually have one extra bathtub, and that I'm going to use for making compost. So I'm getting composting worms and anything that was once alive, basically. So it can even be leftover meats as well as vegetables, even weeds would go into the compost. That would be slightly raised, and through the drain at the bottom you'll get like a juice. I should get a juice more or less every day, and that juice is very powerful, full of all the nutrients, and I can easily use that to top up if the fish waste is not enough for the amount of plants I'm going to have. And also I'd like to have some other plants in pots, or maybe in a hydroponic system, so that would be great food for the plants. The other thing I was thinking is, perhaps because it should be quite well aerated with it being a bell siphon, is to actually put worms in with the bedding for any bigger waste that does go through the system and gets into the beds. And I don't think it would harm then the fish. I've got to find where to get pH test and the other equipment that I need for testing the water on a regular basis, to just make sure that everything's in balance. So it's going to be an interesting project, and I hope I can pull it off.